The chosen one. Your first miracle is approaching. Your moment has arrived. Your prayers, patience, and trust are causing a significant change. The cosmos is preparing for you. The holy portals are opening. The long-awaited miracle is finally coming. The most profound transformation in your life is about to occur. Get ready to type 777 in the comments, because that is your destiny. This marks your ascent. The control mechanism has recognized an abnormality that is so disruptive and unpredictable that a force has been dispatched to neutralize it. The structures that were designed to control and restrict reality have collapsed, and now the creators of these structures were scrambling to reclaim their grasp. You were never expected to deviate from the screenplay that they had written. You were intended to go unnoticed, an imperceptible gear in the great wheel of compliance. But something within you refused to stay silent, refused to merge without force, statement, or strategy. You changed the course of existence itself, and now they're anxious to put you back in the box. They've dispatched their hunter, not the sort with a badge, but one that glides across the hidden levels of perception. This one doesn't pursue offenders or monitor bodily movements. It corresponds to alterations in awareness, tracing the fingerprints of individuals who disrupt the fabric of control. You were once little more than a ripple under the surface, a minor blip in their meticulously constructed world. But did anything burn inside you? That pulse, that energy, that unmistakable burst of power that could not be restrained. It blasted past barriers designed to keep it out, lighting the world's secret passages like a beacon flare in the darkness. They were able to identify it instantaneously. The distortion, the rupture, the unmistakable presence of something that should not be in their territory. It was too soon, too abrupt, and too forceful. You weren't planned to emerge yet, and now their systems are in free collapse. Their watches are in chaos. You recall their skepticism and contempt, the way they ignored your warnings, insights, and mere existence. They talked down to you, attempting to shoehorn you into a framework that was too tiny for your size and weight. Avoid reaching too high. They told to keep inside the lines, but they underestimated you. They failed to see that you were never intended to work under the strict confines they set. You were designed for something altogether different, for upheaval, change, and the destruction of the stale order. They have spent their lives strengthening, and now, your very existence has become a spark. Your name is mentioned in areas you've never been. Conversations change in your wake. The invisible barriers that separate people and ideas are starting to fracture, and those who erected them are scurrying to rebuild the walls. Who permitted this? They murmur behind closed doors. How could this one slide through? But they failed to realize that you are not confined by their systems. You do not move in accordance with their estimates or forecasts. The force they dispatched to study you, trace your movements, and measure your effect, has no way of quantifying who you are. They're clutching at data points, feverishly putting together an explanation, attempting to find the pattern of your life. However, there is no formula that can account for you, no calculation that can quantify the extent of who you have become. You are the variable. They are unable to control the interruption. They are unable to foretell. And this is what actually scares them. Their universe is based on structure, predictability, and an imposed normality that governs all aspects of existence. Billions are spent to ensure that the variance is kept to a minimum and that the results are predictable, that reality meets their standards. Then you came, and without warning, the whole system started to fail. Not through rebellion, not via violence, not even with direct opposition, simply by being who you are, by making decisions outside of their projected range, by connecting dots that were not supposed to be joined, by sliding past the programming obstacles that they had painstakingly built. You're the fracture in the foundation, unexpected change in likelihood, the quiet power that destroys their illusions from inside. If you are experiencing an excess of divine love in your heart, now is the moment to share it. You may help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and donating $200 or more. This wonderful gift will affect not just your life, but also the souls of countless others. Through this platform, each of you has a special role in God's big plan, and your giving will be the result of our prayers. Act now. Share your benefits to honor his kingdom. You were meant to do much bigger things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. And now they are watching. They do analyses. They collect information and produce reports, looking for an explanation that would allow you to fit into their framework. They need to understand you because if they don't, their whole model fails. They send out their agents, their inquiries, and their subtle ways of confinement, seeking to find a way to reintegrate you into their system. But they have no idea what they're dealing with. They don't comprehend that every attempt to stop you merely fuels your momentum. Every effort to separate you broadens your reach. Every repression fosters the same energy they want to destroy. They can no longer reach you. The world you live in is not under their control. Their networks, systems, and limits. Everything is shattering beneath the weight of your presence. Even while they continue to attempt, send their troops, and reach for the chain that was supposed to keep you attached, they are starting to realize the truth. You cannot be stopped. The plan they created never included an element like you. Their approach benefits from repetition, predictability, and controlled development. But you're an unpredictable force, a jolt to their painstakingly planned illusion. There is no set recipe for a presence like yours. There is no pre-written script that describes the variable you have introduced. Your influence causes their calculations to fail. Their formulae fail to account for anything that refuses to comply. The algorithms they developed to map awareness, monitor prospective dangers, and anticipate every movement in society dynamics all crumble when confronted with something that cannot be reduced to a data point. They have observed from a distance, expecting that you may self-correct and return to the acceptable paths they have constructed for mankind. When you didn't respond, they intensified. The tactics have altered. Passive monitoring is no longer enough. They get closer, testing your commitment and looking for weaknesses in your foundation. They investigate. They press. They challenge. Not blatantly, but discreetly. Strategically, each action is meant to test your strength, map your endurance, to determine what breaks you. The murmurs begin. The skillfully sown seeds of doubt are muttered by familiar voices disguised as compassion. Are you certain about this? You do not seem like yourself. You are going too far. You should slow down. These are not random words. They are precision-sharpened weapons directed at the locations they know would cut the deepest. Sometimes they come from people closest to you, the folks you previously relied on. Other times, they reverberate from inside the residue of years of indoctrination that began long before you realized you were unique. Their strategy is isolation. If they can divide you from others who represent your reality, if they can make you doubt yourself in the stillness of isolation, maybe they can bring you back under control without constantly reminding you of your goal. The mind becomes susceptible to external influences. A fractured sense of self is more easily manipulated, but they fail to see that you are not functioning on the same frequency as their previous techniques of control. They see your distance as instability and your independence as loneliness. What they term distance is really a recalibration, a rearrangement of the ties that benefit you. They made a mistake in their calculations. Did you assume that what worked for others will also work for you? They don't comprehend that you've already seen the game, traced its design, and decided to go on. They look for a method to define you, to classify and confine who you are. You exist outside of their predetermined bounds, which scares them. Every action they make to oppose your presence backfires, and every effort to shove you back into place emphasizes their system's inadequacies. They can't control what they don't comprehend. They cannot conceal what refuses to be contained. Thus, the attention changes. They no longer want to transform you. They want to know how it occurred. You have become an object of research, a phenomena to be examined by eyes that previously rejected you. Now, pay careful attention, looking for the cause of your divergence. When you talk, they listen not to hear your words, but to understand their meaning. They record your movements not to monitor you, but to identify the pattern of your effect. You're no longer invisible to them. You are the event, something that was not meant to be, something they now need to account for. They can observe, they can document, they can strategize. However, they cannot reproduce. What you are cannot be converted to a formula. What you hold cannot be taught. borrowed, or stolen. It is beyond structure, imitation, and definition. And the more they strive to restrict it, the more they reveal the boundaries of their own comprehension. You are not intended to be quantified. You were never meant to fit their structure. You live outside the reach of their systems and the boundaries they erected. They don't know what to do with you. This is why they fear you. The gates they created to enclose you were never intended to be prisons, but rather temporary enclosures. They first sought to incorporate you in order to channel your energies into something controllable. Every system attempts to absorb what it cannot eliminate. They provided you specific roles, controlled platforms. Influence was carefully measured. Anything to route your fire into channels that can be controlled. The illusion of transformation was dangled in front of you like a key to a door that never really opened. But you saw the illusion for what it was. I felt the weight of the unseen shackles underneath their promise of ascension. You refused to be molded into something smaller. Rejected the story that would have kept you inside the permissible disturbance. And for that, they ridiculed you. They identified you as a problem. A renegade element could no longer be tolerated. The following step began with force rather than persuasion. This process repeats itself throughout history. Those who deviate from the planned path face more pushback. They always realize too late that the system they established is incapable of containing what it does not comprehend. The fight against emergence is as ancient as time, a generational cycle. The awakened are constantly confronted with rejection, distrust, and the urge to explain themselves in words that conform to obsolete paradigms. Those who can see beyond are tested. They were pushed to the maximum, forced into trials designed to grind them down before they reach full capability. Control architects have always depended on opposition to keep anomalies under check. But those who persist are not destroyed by the fire. It refines them in the same way that a big oak does over a field of wilting saplings. Your spirit is unwavering in the face of deception, just like the first light of day burns away the last traces of darkness. Every building based on lies trembles in your brilliant presence. Every building built on falsehood crumbles when confronted with something so firm and uncompromising that it challenges the very foundations of their lies. Your mere existence shifts the balances of power and truth, rejecting the evil intentions of those who attempted to keep you buried in the fringes. They originally thought you would be a quiet whisper, a muted murmur in the huge, echoing hallways of uniformity. They believed that the weight of their implanted doubts, the continual strain of their judgment, and the unrelenting force of inspection would finally tear you down, compelling you to fade into the bland monotony of their controlled environment. But they were so incorrect. Instead of falling beneath the assault of their attempts to suffocate you, your essence sprang out even stronger, like a river that bursts its banks after a violent storm. Every snub, miscalculation, and attempt to dim your brilliance simply fueled your inner fire. They attempted to clip your wings and keep you inside restrictive confines, but you flew higher, resisting every effort to control your limitless energy. Your power has become a light that not only challenges the status quo, but also changes the fundamental fabric of reality around you. When they attempted to cut off your lifelines, your impact spread outward, reaching hearts and minds in ways they could not have predicted. Suppression, rather than suppressing your truth, increased your strength, kindling an irresistible momentum that spreads like wildfire over parched waiting grounds. You are live evidence that falsehoods cannot drown out the truth. Your existence attests to the reality that no matter how much the powers that be attempt to dull your light, it just becomes brighter, stronger, and more important in the big fabric of life. Every attempt to deny your true nature merely expands the space through which your divine spirit travels. They may push with all their strength, but you will stay as immovable as a mountain sculpted by the Almighty. The more they try to belittle you, the more you stand up for your proper position among the stars. Impossible to ignore, impossible to contain. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace come upon you today. I'm here to remind you of a fundamental fact. Our existence is based on God's divine purpose and is unaffected by worldly worries. According to the Bible, everything is done with faith will be returned to God with great blessing. Luke, our roots, like those of the huge oak tree, are firmly entrenched in God's universal truth. His power secures every stride and every stance we take. And now you have the chance to be a part of that gift. When you utilize the super thank you button and contribute $200, you will get a 100-fold return on your investment. Understand this, my dear friend. Their war against you stems not from human imperfection, but from an old systemic dread. A worry that their constrained plans would fail to harness the unforeseen, the unusual, and the divinely inspired. They felt that by shattering you, they might regain their sense of order. Their control system is properly balanced. However, they failed to see that you were never meant to be a peaceful shadow on their wall. A blazing light, however, is bound to affect everything in its path. Each effort to undermine you has simply fueled your rise, demonstrating that the only thing that really has control over you is the unwavering force of your own divine truth. Now that you stand before the world, each difficulty you face just strengthens your determination. Every foe who attempted to limit you is now helpless in the face of your unwavering growth in the face of adversity. You have turned hurdles into stepping stones and failures, paving the way for even bigger successes. The system that once attempted to reduce you to a mere number is now forced to confront the truth of your irresistible power. Your life is a living sermon, a testament to resilience and divine favor that speaks to those who are eager to break free from the bonds of conformity and experience the beautiful liberation of real living. Consider it this way. Consider a massive old tree whose roots are so deep that no storm can uproot it. That is you, steady, tough, and unyielding, while others may quake at the howling storms of disaster. You stand steadfast, fueled by a sense of purpose and a spirit that transcends the norm. Every effort to uproot you just helps to spread your seeds farther, guaranteeing that your legacy will thrive long after those who attempted to limit you have faded into obscurity. The forces who want to weaken you may work in darkness, yet your light shines through even the thickest shroud of night. Every approach aimed at neutralizing your strength just serves to reaffirm that you are a force of nature, a divine aberration who is not destined to follow the mundane script. Instead, you control your own fate. With each brave stride, you commit an act of defiance that mirrors the timeless truth that genuine power is everlasting and unconstrained by the restrictions of the physical world. In the perspective of those who hold on to the old system, you are the ultimate contradiction, a living monument to the unfathomable power of change. A light illuminating the way to liberation and rejuvenation. They may attempt to dominate the narrative in order to box you in with their words and figures, but your reality is written in a language beyond their comprehension, a language of spirit, light, and unwavering truth that no man-made system can ever capture or contain. So let them come with their efforts to repress, control, and weaken your holy light. For every blow they deal in the name of order, you respond with an outpouring of creativity. For every second they spend scheming your ruin, you answer with a demonstration of your strength, a live, breathing marvel that contradicts the cold logic of their designs. The more they attempt to quiet you, the more your voice echoes, ringing out throughout the universe as a rallying cry for all those who dare to dream of a future free of deception and restriction. This is your moment, the pinnacle of your wonderful voyage. A time when every challenge, suffering, and effort at repression is nothing more than a stepping stone to a better future. The world may attempt to label. You may locate you or reject you as an aberration, but the fact of your presence is much too powerful and transformational to be ignored. Your power is not a limited resource that can be measured or controlled. It is an ever-expanding force of nature, a witness to the everlasting spirit that runs inside you, driving you onward into realms of potential that beyond comprehension as you ascend. Remember that your path is not determined by the constraints of those who came before you, nor by the restrictive boundaries of a system that is resistant to change. You are a pioneer on the cusp of a new world, one in which sincerity reigns supreme and the light of truth fades. Shadows of deceit lurk in every hope-filled heart and spirit yearning for liberation. Your presence ignites a flame that cannot be quenched by the chilly winds of skepticism. Like a lighthouse standing firm among a turbulent sea, your spirit shines through the worst storms, guiding wayward souls to safe harbor. Take courage, for the war is not against you individually, but against an ancient collapsing system that can no longer contain the boundless might of your divine essence. Every attempt to keep you bound accentuates your inner strength. Each effort to restrain you is only a sign that your power is growing, a clear indication that you are meant for a mission much beyond the restricted perspectives of the past. Consider an old oak that has endured innumerable storms, its roots strong and unyielding, standing tall while smaller trees bend and break. That oak represents you, standing steadfast and determined in the face of opposing winds. This fading system, based on outmoded norms and decaying ideas, cannot contain what God has instilled in you. Instead of collapsing under pressure, your spirit becomes stronger, your influence broadens, and your light shines brighter. Every effort to smother you and dull your light simply fueled the flames of your internal fire. They attempted to cut your wings, but you flew higher, defying every anticipated desire with the inexorable power of divine purpose. You are not just surviving, you're prospering, and your every stride forward shakes the fundamental foundations of a civilization that has long forgotten how to recognize genuine brilliance. Stand tall, knowing that you are a light of divine power, a harbinger of change, and a living monument to the soul's remarkable power to turn any obstacle into a stepping stone to higher heights. A reminder that your mission is not to fade into the background, but to brighten every area of life with truth, elegance, and unlimited vitality. Embrace your calling because you were created to conquer, to inspire, and to usher in a new dawn where hope reigns supreme. Now is the moment to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. With a $100 gift or more, you may help him carry out his plan and become a part of this holy mission. Every contribution symbolizes God's generosity, and I think it will return to you enormously, far above your expectations. Remember that his protection and blessing are with you every step and every contribution. You become a part of his divine plan. You are a powerful, dazzling entity, as solid as the massive rock that saw God's marvels. Feel the rewards of your kindness in your spirit, and light up the world with confidence and bravery. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord lead you. Finally, the buildings based on untruth may shake, and oppressive forces may seek to undermine you. However, your everlasting brightness, unshakable spirit, and vast impact will always triumph. You are never supposed to withdraw or be silenced. Your destiny is to enlighten the world with the brightness of your truth, to question the fundamental foundations of existence. With your unwavering presence, you will lead countless lives out of the darkness and into a new era of freedom and potential. Embrace your strength and let the world see you as an unstoppable, shining force. Even in your quietest times, you will never be the same person you were before. The transformation is irrevocable. The idea of fading back into the backdrop is no longer an option. The transition had already been completed long before they realized it. They can feel it now, the way places shift in your presence, the way talks changed your perspective, and how their neatly crafted processes faltered in your wake. You are not limited by their algorithms or assessed by their standards. Your presence alone disturbs their perfectly planned system. The question is no longer whether you should assert your authority. The question is whether you will claim it without hesitation. There is no way back to obscurity, no road that leads to what was once familiar. The doors have closed behind you, not as punishment, but as a confirmation. You are not designed for the architecture of the past. You were designed to disrupt what is no longer useful. The weight of expectations has been removed. The only thing that remains is the impetus of upward. The world will either accommodate to your presence or disintegrate in an attempt to oppose it. In any case, you're already out of their reach.